Billy back here with the Broship of the Nerds, here to rank the Ty West trilogy with Mia Goth. Uh, I want to start out by saying that I've seen several lists of this, and I may disagree with some of the rankings, but you could literally put any of these in whatever order, and I probably wouldn't make a big fuss about it because all three are great films. So I'll talk a little bit about each film, what I like, and maybe what I don't like or thought could have been done better. So in last place, Maxxine. I was so excited to see this film. I was really hyped to see this. Went with a friend to see it, and the soundtrack is incredible. The music is just so much fun. I love the way they did that. I loved Hollywood set in the 80s. That was really interesting and was the selling point for me. And I wanted to see how this trilogy ended, how Maxine went, because we've been waiting since X, because we had X, then we had the prequel Pearl, and we're like, okay, let's see what happens with Maxine now. I was so excited for that. And it was still a very good movie and a very fun movie, but my things I like, Mia Goth, amazing. She is such a great actress, and I really like the way that she was able to play both Maxine and Pearl throughout this trilogy. And she just astounded me with her ability to make these two characters very different and be able to do that. It's very tough with the way they wrote these characters for her to be able to portray all of these different emotions, whether it be Pearl's emotions and her psychology or Maxine's psychology, right? So with Maxine, they did a good job of having showing her fighting through the trauma, and she's having flashbacks, and she's having survivor's guilt and that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the film. However, and Kevin Bacon was great in this. Lily Collins was really fun in this, right? The cast was incredible. It wasn't a cast problem, it was a pacing problem. The movie needed another 20 minutes or so. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes movies can be too long, yes, but sometimes it's needed, right? I'm not saying it has to be an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours, but you need the time to fully tell your story. And I personally felt they could have raised the stakes. Like Halsey's in this, Lily Collins in this. What they could have done, and this is just an idea, is had a couple of her friends get kidnapped, and then when she gets kidnapped, she has the chance, maybe one of her friends gets killed in front of her, and then she's able to save one of the others. But yes, it's all about Maxine, but I just wish that the other characters were developed further. My favorite, probably side character or friend of hers, was the video store owner. He had a lot of potential as a character, and I wish they would have maybe given them 5 to 10 more minutes at the beginning to develop that relationship more. And same thing with Halsey and Lily Collins' character. I wish they would have given us more time with them. And the director, her interaction with Maxine was incredible. So all these things, and Kevin Bacon was great with her too. So it wasn't that there wasn't enough of a good thing. They say too much of a good thing can be bad. This time there wasn't enough of it. I felt like it was very rushed and the pacing was just off. And the ending, I called who the killer was, but the way they did it could have been better. They could have saved the reveal for a little bit longer. They could have had it more dramatic. It wasn't anything to do with the acting. It was all about the storytelling. To me, the story is the weakest of the three. Still a fun film. I will still buy it when it comes out, and I will give the trilogy a rewatch because there's a friend of mine who hasn't seen any of them, and we plan on doing it for our other channel, which, if you want to check that out, that is called the Trick or Treaters. And that is a YouTube channel where my buddy Eddie and I discuss nothing but physical media, streaming, movies in general, TV shows, that sort of thing. We'll be getting into TV shows as we go. So yeah, I put Maxine third just because the acting was great, but the storytelling left something to be desired. In second place, Pearl. Now, the acting in this was phenomenal. Mia Goth really played this crazy character really well. And you can tell the whole movie, and based on what we learned in X, that Pearl wants more for her life. And she's stuck at home taking care of her dad, and her mom's there too. And her mom wants her to be somebody she's not. And I think, yes, her mom knew she had psychological problems, but had she got out more, I think, and with guidance and been exposed to the world more as a kid, that I think this wouldn't have happened, right? Like, she went through a lot, and I think it just shows you what kind of life she had was interesting. And then her psychological breakdown and just her going absolutely crazy. Now, the reason I can't rank this number one is not because I didn't think it was a good film. I go by rewatchability. In fact, I had considered at first putting Pearl last because of the three, that's probably the one I would rewatch the least. And I think it's because there is so much like craziness and like mental illness or things that go wrong for her that for me, I would not watch that movie like over and over by myself. I would watch it with friends, but that is probably the least rewatchable by myself. So I had almost put Pearl last, but I can't because the storytelling's better than Maxine, and the character of Pearl, I was intrigued after X. Whenever we found out we were getting Pearl, I was intrigued to learn more of her story. So I put Pearl second just because of the fact that there was so much hype for that film and the psychology of Pearl. I wanted to see, okay, what was she like when she was younger? Howard was off at war. Pearl was home with her parents, and her dad was physically unable to really take care of himself, and her mom was too hard on her at times, didn't really give her time to go play or have fun or whatever. And the projectionist in her, I really liked the way they interacted at first. I thought, like, okay, and it's just you wonder what could have been for Pearl in life had she had more of a normal childhood and upbringing. But that's the whole point. We go from we needed to get X to Pearl to kind of show that Pearl didn't quite work out, and she wanted to be an actress, she wanted to be a star. So in that way, Pearl and Maxine relate because both of them want to be actresses, both of them want to be stars, and it shows you Pearl really thought she was going to be somebody, and then the disappointment of that in X when she's older and she sees what she wanted to be in Maxine, which is why I think she truly didn't want to kill Maxine. Um, she wanted to get rid of everybody else though, but she was jealous of her. But I'll get more into that into my X talk. But yeah, so I put Pearl second just because even though I don't connect to it as much as I do Maxine or find it as fun, it's still interesting the way they did it. And I thought it was a really good movie. It's a great movie, but it may not be a movie for me to watch over and over. Number one is X. And the reason I put this number one was I found this movie. Um, I'd seen some stuff like online discussions and stuff as I've started getting more into horror, which I before watched a lot of. Like my movie collection is mostly like action. Comedy is my biggest genre. Spooky season, but I have a lot like Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus. So when I saw the concept of X, the basic, I didn't want to really spoil it for myself. I was at, I forget where I was at. I might have been at Best Buy when they were still selling movies. And I had seen the Blu ray, I believe it's the Blu ray of X sitting there. I thought, this looks really good, interesting. Let me see what it's about. And from beginning to end, you have characters that you actually can connect to and root for, right? Like, I really like Maxine, of course. I'm a big Jenna Ortega fan, but Church Mouse, as they called her with her nickname, I wasn't super into her character. I thought she was kind of annoying, but it was because of the way her character was raised. So it was the actress Jenna Ortega played her brilliantly. It's just her character does not make the smartest decisions, but she has a different upbringing and a different like morals than the other characters. So she stood out intentionally because of that, and I thought that was really interesting that um, she made it to the final two. So that was really cool. The fact that she made it almost to the end because of where she was at and that sort of thing. I really liked the soldier. He was really cool. And he was just so like chill and kind of nonchalant about the whole like filming porn thing. And I like the premise that these people want to make cheap adult films, so they go and stay at an old couple's farm home, and then when they find out what's going on, they're jealous of their youth and start killing them off. I liked that concept. I thought it was great, and that was just phenomenal the way they did that. Brittany Snow, I really liked her character. I thought she had a lot of potential in there. She was just like a fun character. I'm looking up the cast here. So yeah, Brittany Snow was fun. Ortega's character annoyed me, but she played the character well. Maxine was really interesting. Kid Cudi as Jackson, he was great. As the soldier, he was awesome. I loved how he played that character, and he was just such a likable character in that. RJ had his moments, but like I didn't dislike him. I thought he was all right, and I did feel bad for him whenever Lorraine decides she wants to be in the movie. So like the adult parts. So that I did feel for him there, and he was just wrong place, wrong time. Wayne, take it or leave him. I mean, he was the like director of the project and cocky and everything, like he was supposed to be. So I didn't hate his character. He did not deserve death, but he wasn't my favorite either. So he was kind of like, he played his role really well. But definitely the I and Howard and Pearl was really interesting. What got me in this was the story and the twist, finding out like who Maxine's father was. Because the whole time I'm like, why are they doing this religious stuff? Like I get it, like young delinquents, that sort of thing. But it was very intriguing to me as to why that was in X. And then whenever they connect the dots, I'm like, wow, this is really good storytelling, which made Maxine more disappointing because I figured the church group would get involved, but I was just hoping for a little more to bite on when it came to the ending of the last act of Maxine. So X sets up this whole trilogy, and to me, it was the high point of this one. It was the best just because of the characters, the storytelling, and the kills. The kills were creative and sometimes unexpected, or the timing was really interesting, and a lot of thought was put into how they were killing off the characters. And there's something unsettling about not knowing like when it was going to happen, and then the shock factor. Ty West, you are amazing and a mastermind when it comes to shock factor. In X, the most unsettling scene to me is whenever Maxine's asleep and Pearl, this old lady, comes in and rubs her skin. That just creeped me out. And then how Maxine slept through that, I will never know. But I would not have. I'd have been like, what the and I would have been up and beating up somebody. But that part was really the most unsettling to me. And then Don't Fear the Reaper playing with the red lighting, that was just brilliant. So I will say, even though Maxine wasn't to me like the best, it was still fun. Ty West is a genius, and I am looking forward to watching more of his films in the future. I need to go back and watch his previous movies, but I am looking forward to him. I think he's a great director overall. I just think maybe a little bit longer films whenever the story needs it. And so that is my ranking, and I stick to that. And like I said, I'm going to rewatch this trilogy with a friend of mine, and I may reevaluate that ranking. But I still think X stays at number one. It's Pearl and Maxine that I think I could bounce back and forth between. And there are talks of possibly a fourth one. We'll see what happens. I would watch another one. And I've definitely seen worse horror movies. And like I said, the 80s vibe brought it up a little bit for me because with Stranger Things, we had this 80s kind of kick going on. But yeah, and I kind of ramble a little bit, but those are my thoughts overall. Was that overall as a trilogy, it is pretty solid. There are really interesting things. There are some scenes in a couple, and I want to say, yeah, Maxine, there was a scene where I had to look away because it was just that, like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. But that's what I like about Ty West too, is the fact that he does do that, like, over the top shock factor. And that's what he's great at. And I hope we see more from him. I'm just hoping in future, like whodunit mysteries, there's a little more build up, a little more suspense, and I think that is why I put X as number one. There's suspense, there are high stakes. Are these people going to get out? Because at first it starts out as everybody's asleep or laying in bed except for one person, one of the group that goes there, and nobody else even realizes what's happening. So it's kind of like a divide and conquer thing. I love that, and the fact that you're the whole time you're like, okay, get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. I didn't have that same feeling with Maxine, where I'm sitting there saying, okay, got to get out of there because it a lot of the kills happen off screen and there isn't a lot of high stakes throughout the film. It's just like, okay, they're dead. Okay, they're dead. The only kill I think that was really like build up was the movie store owner, and that even then could have been done better. But that is why I think X is the best for me because of the fact that they put the build into getting you to like the characters. They gave it enough time to breathe for the story, and the police at the beginning, kind of giving you a hint as to what's to come, really added to the film. And then the religious part with her, Maxine's dad, being a preacher, that just added to her pastor, that added to it. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I would love to hear what you thought about the Ty West trilogy. Leave a comment and let me know. Subscribe if you want the ultimate broship experience. That has been the Ty West trilogy. Hope you guys are well. Take care.